How are we doing, everybody? How are we doing this evening on night or day 117 of the war in Ukraine? I'm your host, Andy Mercado from Mercado Media. How is everybody doing? Independent journalist, U.S. Army veteran, been covering the war in Ukraine since night one. We're on YouTube only this evening. So if you're wondering where the hell the Facebook stream is, it didn't connect. I was sitting here and I hit the live button and I was looking over and it did not go. Facebook just decided, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do a live stream tonight, and I don't feel like resetting it all back up again and doing it again. There's like way more people that tune in on YouTube anyway, so just for tonight, YouTube only, YouTube party tonight. Hello from Renton, Washington. Let's go ahead and do a viewer check-in really quick, if you guys could. We have new member badges in the chat. New member badges, brand new. I know it's kind of hard to see right now, which we'll fix, but we're gonna try to incorporate how much time you've been a member of the channel on your badge. It's really hard to see, so we're gonna fix that. Probably take away the M in there, and then just keep the number of how long you've been a member. So those are reflected now. Now, like the teal. What's the order of the member order, so you guys know how long it's the robin's egg blue, you're a new member, then it's blue for 1 month, then it's green for 2 months, then you get purple for 6 months, and then when you're at 1 year you get a silver badge, and then when you're at 2 years you get the gold badge. All right, go ahead, pledge your, I'm accepting all pledges for members tonight. All you gotta do is pledge. Totally. All right, I don't care if you're a member or not. Thank you so much for just choosing Mercado Media for your news source. Thank you again. Just like the video and hit that subscribe button. That's all that I could ask from you. Thank you guys so much. So if you want to follow along in the description of our video, we include a nightly mini world news update along with our coverage, so we can keep up with any big events that go on outside of the war in Ukraine. And then we do our deep dive. I go into the map, any changes, any territorial gains or losses from Ukraine and Russia across all three fronts. And then we go into video clip time and videos from the internet today on June 20th. Our boy John Sweeney, independent journalist now, he worked for the BBC. We go down Rob Lee, who's an open source intelligence social media source, used to fight in the Marine Corps, now posts a nice daily timeline of the last 24 hours of the newest war footage clips. So we go through all of the latest war footage that's come out in the last 24 hours. Sometimes it's old, but at least it says that it's old. And then we go through the latest clips on the Ukraine war videos on Reddit and anything that we might have missed for the day. So this is all coverage from the last 24 hours in the war in Ukraine. Let's get into our mini world news update, though, before I forget. I got sidetracked because, again, there's just a lot to go into today. It's going to be a decisive week for Severodonetsk. If you've been paying attention to the war, that's a city in the east, and I'll show you guys the territorial changes and gains that have taken place within that city. It's been a huge topic, and you're going to keep hearing about it. You're going to hear Severodonetsk and the Azot plant this week. Those are two. It's like a mirror situation of Mariupol, right? The Ukrainians were held up in the Azovstal plant in Mariupol, and now they're held up in the Azot plant in Severodonetsk. So follow along in the description for a mini world news update. French President Emmanuel Macron lost control of the National Assembly and legislative elections on Sunday, less than 2 months after his re-election. The hung parliament means Macron's government will likely have to seek a coalition or build short-term alliances on bills, the New York Times reported. The last time a newly elected president failed to get an outright majority in parliamentary elections was 1988. According to Reuters. Might be some changes in France going on. Members of House Committee investigating the Capitol riot said Sunday they may subpoena former President Mike Pence and are waiting to hear from Virginia Ginni Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, about her role in the illegal plot to overturn the 2020 election. Lawmakers indicated they will release more evidence about Donald Trump's alleged effort to defraud supporters by fundraising off false claims of a stolen presidential election. They also pledged to provide pertinent material to the Justice Department by the end of the month for its criminal investigation. The department complained in a letter last week that the committee was complicating its investigation by not sharing transcripts from its 1,000 interviews. That's from the straight from the Associated Press. President Joe Biden said Monday that he's considering a federal holiday on the gasoline tax and a mandatory, possibly saving the U.S. customers as much as 18.4 cents a gallon. The Penn-Wharton budget model released estimates Wednesday showing that consumers saved at the pump because of gas tax holidays in Connecticut, Georgia, and Maryland. The majority of savings went to consumers instead of service stations and others in the energy sector. I heard he's going to mandate training wheels as well. Russia warned NATO member Lithuania on Monday that unless the transit of goods to Russia's Kaliningrad exclave on the Baltic Sea was swiftly restored, then Moscow would take undisclosed measures to defend its national interests. Republicans in Texas formally rejected President Joe Biden's election in 2020 as illegitimate and voted in a statewide convention that wrapped up this weekend on a party platform that calls homosexuality an, quote, abnormal lifestyle choice, end quote, from Reuters. And they formally rejected. I don't know, it's 2 years later, so Biden has to win Texas again 2 years later. This is getting wild, dude. This is getting wild and scary. I thought Hillary did it bad. I thought Hillary did it bad on her book tours, complaining and crying. This is getting terrible. Save us. Save us. All right. So now let's get into the war in Ukraine. That is, you can find that rundown of today's news in the description of our video. So now we're going to be getting into the map here of Ukraine. And I'm also going to do a poll as well once we get into the video section. I forgot to. So let me do that when we get to videos. And I'll be asking you guys today how much longer you guys think this war is going to last. When the war began, I thought it was going to go quickly because Russia was going quick. And then when Ukraine held them off, and then it was starting to seem like, oh, this is going to last a little longer than we anticipated. Oh, this is going to go another month or two. Oh, this one's going to... And then I think around like the end of March, April, for the majority, kind of have seen that this is going to continue going for years. It's already gone for 8 years. It's already been going. If you care about how I feel, I think that the presidential election in 2024, this is going to go until then, at least. This is going to go until then, unless our midterm elections in the United States drastically change something. I can see the campaigns being run on support to Ukraine or continuous support to Ukraine. I can see that being a campaign. Russia's a campaign promise. Russia's waiting for them U.S. elections, dude. I have a feeling that this is going to go until a new president comes, and then we'll see how much the United States is going to be sending in aid. We'll see. So on our map here is the southern peninsula. This is the Crimean Peninsula. It is in black. It's a bolded in black line because it's been occupied since 2000, the year of our Lord 2014. All right, similar on the map, you got Donetsk and Luhansk to the east. Also bold in black because it's been occupied by Russian forces since 2014. Everything else in the map, it's going to be in dark red and red. That is occupied territory occupied by Russia, Russian forces post-invasion. So this is post-24 February in here. So that's all inside the red. Blue on the map, that is going to be claimed Ukrainian counteroffensives. So this is territory that Russia once held, and now it's back in Ukrainian control. And then the yellow on the map is going to be claimed Russian control. When it turns red, that means it's all sources have kind of confirmed that, or all sources have confirmed that it's now in Russian hands, if you will. Like if there's any territorial changes, like in Severodonetsk, it's taken like both Ukrainian and Russian sources to get this verified and make it so that way the red has changed, and we're gonna go over that too here. Shout out to Deep State Map Live and Denise's map here. And I'll show you guys the changes here on the 19th, and it looks like from the 19th to the 20th, the Ukrainians have pushed the Russians back some, and at least to the southeastern tip of Severodonetsk. All right, so we'll go over that, and it shows all the changes on the timeline. New map for Mercado Media. Let's go. Let's get into it. You can find all of the links to our sources and the maps I use and all of that in the description of our video. Do a viewer check-in too if you haven't. Comment where you're tuned in from, what city, what state, where in the world. So happy to have you. Again, make sure you're, subscribed, notification bell turned on so you never miss a stream. Mondays and Fridays are the only 2 nights a week in which the stream will be at 9 p.m. or later. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, it depends, and then Sundays are always going to be at 8 p.m. Central Time, okay? So, let's get into it here. Let me zoom in here. Ukrainian officials are emphasizing that the coming week will be decisive for Russian efforts to take control of Severodonetsk. Deputy Ukrainian Defense Minister Hanna Myla reported that Russian leadership has set June 26th as the deadline for Russian forces to reach Luhansk Oblast administrative border, which will likely result in intensified efforts to take full control of Severodonetsk and move westward towards the Oblast border. Head of the Luhansk Regional State Administration, Serhiy Hadai, reported that Russian forces control all of Severodonetsk except for the industrial zone as of June 20th, which is the first explicit Ukrainian confirmation that Russian forces control all of Severodonetsk with the exception of the Azot plant. Russian forces will likely continue to clear the Azot plant and complete encirclement operations south of Severodonetsk and Lysychansk by driving up the T-1302 Bakhmut-Lysychansk highway. And we'll be going over that, and I'll show you that highway and some of these cities. I'll show you where Bakhmut is, and I'll show you where Lysychansk is. So we got Rhode Island, Virginia, how you doing? Ontario, Canada is tuned in. Oregon, Greensboro, North Carolina, Catoosa, Oklahoma. And I do apologize to our usual Facebook viewers. I sent a stream to it, and it just did not go this evening. It decided, nope, I'm not going to do a stream tonight. Ontario, Canada is tuned in. We got Josh in Russia is tuned in. Indiana. I'm glad that some Russians are able to get some Western sources still on YouTube. Massachusetts, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania tuned in. Charlotte, welcome. So happy to have you here on Mercado Media. So let's continue. Russian authorities likely seek to leverage the consequences of Russia's blockade on Ukrainian grain exports in order to cajole the West into weakening its sanctions. Leveraging the consequences of Russia's blockade on Ukrainian grain exports. Head of the state-owned propaganda outlet RT, Margarita Simonyan, stated that June 20th that the famine caused by Russia's blockade on grain exports will force the rest of the world to lift sanctions in order to curb further effects of global famine. Simonyan's statement is especially salient considering a report by the UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office that Ukraine had generated 12% of global wheat and barley exports, and that Russia's blockade has trapped over 20 million tons of grain in storage. You want to know a source of a food shortage and why there's food shortages? 12% of global wheat and barley exports. Russia's trapped 20 million tons of grain in the Black Sea in their hold. And now they're trying to leverage that. So they're trying to leverage that to try to weaken sanctions, dude. The United Kingdom Ministry of Defense claimed on June 20th that consistent failures of the Russian Air Force have significantly contributed to Russia's limited successes in Ukraine. The United Kingdom Ministry of Defense emphasized that Russian Air Force has continually underperformed and been largely risk-adverse, failing to establish air superiority or give Russian forces a decisive advantage in Ukraine. The report additionally claimed that training procedures for the Air Force personnel are scripted and designed to impress senior officials, but do not adequately prepare personnel for the challenges of active air combat. So it sounds just like the Russian military. They're there for show. The Russian military is a big dog and pony show, minus the Wagner PMCs or their private military group, or like the separatists that they filled with propaganda, then they got them to fight, so that way they had some sort of a will to fight. But their military has no will. No, they don't, nothing. You gotta have layers of propaganda to get them to even, have a reason to fight. And then their military is just like paper tiger. Perfect example, Massey B. Perfect. It's all dog and pony show, like the Russia parade. Looks big. Looks like it's a military, right? Not so much. Key takeaways. Ukrainian sources stated that the coming week will be indecisive for Russian forces to complete the capture of Severodonetsk, and that Russian forces will focus troops and equipment on the area. Keep in mind, they have focused their entire effort here. Okay, their flanks, the Ukrainians. Oops, I lost. Oh, damn it. The Ukrainians are about 10 to 15 kilometers outside of Kherson, here to the south. So the Russians are having successes because they put all of their battalion tactical groups in here. All of their best artillery, the Wagner private military group, which is their best private military company. Their best mercenaries are in here. So they're gonna continue to have successes in here. They put all of their eggs in here. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians are having successes here in the southern axes because they moved their battalion. They've moved a lot of their troops away from here, as well as up here. These are like their flanks, if you will, on the southern tip, and then the east, the Kharkiv Oblast, and then the southern axes here. And the Ukrainians, you got the Kherson city here. The Ukrainians are right on the E58 highway. Ukrainians on the E58 highway, they're damn close. They're getting closer. They're getting closer and closer. I've been paying attention, trying to keep up with Starsky's updates down there in Kherson. I wish the mainstream media would point out some of the Ukrainian successes down here to the south more. I understand that the east is significant, and it's been significant for over 8 years now. But people, not like the West was paying attention to the east for the last 8 years. There's a whole war effort going on here, not just in the east. Ukrainian sources confirm that Russian forces control all of Severodonetsk with the exception of the Azot industrial zone. So it's confirmed that it's confirmed on all sides, no doubt about it, no feelings involved, that the Russians control all of Severodonetsk minus the Azot plant. That's pretty well reflected here on our map. Pretty well reflected. The Azot plant is here. Let's go ahead and use some markers. Let's do that. Let's just make it yellow so it matches. No, I'll do blue. Blue is Ukraine. So this is about where the Azot plant is, and you can see they're surrounded. All right, that's accurate. It's been reported by both sides now, so it's not just coming from the Russians, or that's when both sides are reporting the same thing. That's when you can be like, okay, I can believe this now. Russian sources are likely setting information conditions to justify slow and unsuccessful advances towards Sloviansk in the southeast of Izium and west of Liman. Russian forces are likely intensifying operations to interdict Ukrainian lines of communication along the T-1302 Bakhmut-Lysychansk highway in order to support escalation operations in Severodonetsk-Lysychansk. Russian forces continue to focus on resisting further Ukrainian advances north of Kharkiv city towards the international border. So they got the Ukrainians on their heels in the northeast as well in Kharkiv. The counteroffensives are successful in the south and in the northeast, and if the Ukrainians can get some more support there, then they can keep making their flanks. They can keep pushing the Russians back into the east. I don't know if that'll work into the Russians' hands though, because all of their propaganda and everything is already embedded so deep and foundationally placed into the east already. I don't know if this is playing into the Russian hands or not at this time, but the more that happens and the longer that this goes on in the east, the longer Russia's propaganda there is going to take hold. It's just how they work. That's why it's a war of attrition. Russian forces continue to focus on resisting further Ukrainian advances north of Kharkiv city towards the international border. Russian forces are continuing defensive operations along the southern axes, and Ukrainian partisan activity is continuing to complicate efforts by Russian occupation authorities to consolidate control of occupied areas. So that's some resistance within some occupied cities by the Ukrainians. The civilians are giving the occupation authority, so like the government that's trying to take over the area, they're giving them hell. There's like protests. The protests in Kherson, they've kind of suppressed those. There's some still taking place. There's been minor resistance, like Molotovs being thrown at Russian-controlled government buildings in Kherson. There was mass protests, but when we saw those clips, those have been kind of quelled for the last few weeks now. But again, the Ukrainians are 10 to 15 kilometers away from the city center of Kherson. And we'll talk about that. So the main effort is eastern Ukraine, which is the Donbas, the Russian main effort. That's here. Zoom out some. There you get the full map there. Full war map while I break it down. Main effort is Eastern Ukraine, comprised of subordinate and 3 supporting efforts. Subordinate main effort is the encirclement of Ukrainian troops in the cauldron between Izium and Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. Supporting effort number 1 is Kharkiv city. Supporting effort number 2 is the southern axes, and then we'll talk about activities in Russian occupied areas. So the main effort, Eastern Ukraine. Subordinate main effort, Southern Kharkiv, Donetsk, Luhansk oblasts. Russian objective, encircle Ukrainian forces in eastern Ukraine and capture the entirety of Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts, the claimed territory of Russia's proxies in Donbas. Ukrainian sources confirm that Russian forces control all of Severodonetsk except for the Azot chemical plant, where fights were ongoing on June 20th. Head of Luhansk Oblast administration, Serhiy Hadai, stated that Ukrainian troops control only the Azot plant and that Russian troops are fighting within the industrial zone. Hadai additionally confirmed that Russian forces took control of the southeastern suburb of Medokline, but claimed that remaining Ukrainian forces in Severodonetsk are still not completely encircled. Deputy Ukrainian Minister Hanna Mylar stated that in the coming week will be decisive for Russian forces to complete the capture of Severodonetsk, and that Russian leadership has set June 26th as the deadline for Russian forces to reach the Luhansk Oblast administrative borders. Russian forces are accumulating equipment around Toshivka, which is still highly contested territory, and are drawing equipment into Starobelsk, approximately 40 kilometers northeast of Severodonetsk in Russian-occupied Luhansk Oblast, to support operations in Severodonetsk from the east. Russian forces will likely continue to funnel troops and equipment into Severodonetsk to complete the capture of the industrial zone in the coming week. Do you guys think that Russia is going to accomplish this task? Maybe that'll be the... I need a poll person. Do you think that the Russians will complete full control of Severodonetsk by June 26th? It's already June 20th. The Ukrainians are holed up in the Azot plant, so they're mostly encircled right now. Do you think the Russians will complete this goal by June 26th, or do you think the Ukrainians will be able to hold them off? Just comment that in the chat. I'll do polls when we get to the video section. All right? Just comment what you think right now. Russian forces focused on maintaining positions to the southeast of Izium and west of Liman, but did not make any confirmed advances towards Sloviansk on June 20th. So let's go into that. Let's go like here. Bang. Okay. Now let's play around with the map some. So I'm going to circle the main cities we're talking about here, so you know where they're at. Izium is up here. Okay, there's Izium. I gotta delete all that. All right, try again. Here's Izium. Okay, that's in Russian control, so it's gonna get a red circle. Here's Liman. It's gonna be a common city that we're talking about. Okay, that's in Russian control. Let's do yellow for Severodonetsk, because it's like we'll do yellow and blue for the zone that Ukraine controls. There you go. Yellow circle for Severodonetsk. And then let's go. Oh, this blue. Blue for the little zone that Ukraine has here. That's about where that's about where the Azot plant is. Blue. And then let's go blue here for Bakhmut. Kramatorsk. Sloviansk. Those big enough? There we go. There's Sloviansk. Major, and then Lysychansk. That's in Ukraine control. All important areas. Trying to think what else. Avdiivka's down here some. All right, let's highlight the highways. We're going to talk about the T1302. Let's do highways as purple still. Or like, yeah, purple is fine. Talk about 2 highways, frequent topics. So here's Izium. This is the E40 highway. Goes right through Sloviansk. Down to Bakhmut. And then you have the T1302 highway. The noises are included too. Right to Lysychansk. That's the T1302. I have it memorized. Trust me. I've done this now, so I don't have to zoom in anymore. I want to keep it distant. So there's a couple other ways. There's a couple other highways the Russians can use. There's a couple other roadways along here, but these are the two main. These are the 2 main highways that they have been using. So you got, I'm gonna write on here now. This is the T13. Oh, that's terrible. That's garbage. You can't work with that. T1302. And then you got the E. I'm all about visuals. I'm a visual learner, so E40. Okay, E40 highway here. T1302 highway. Also, we should highlight the river. Let's make the river dark blue this time so it's a little bit easier to see. The Donetsk, oh, that's white. That's too much. There we go. The river that runs through it. There's the Severodonetsk. There we go. Those are all the main cities: Izium, Lyman, Severodonetsk, which is yellow because it's mostly in Russian control at this time, with the Azot plant here circled. Then you got Lysychansk, which is circled here. Could have done a better job of that one. I'll do a better job tomorrow. Bakhmut here, Kramatorsk, and Sloviansk. Reflected again, trying to keep the same colors here: blue Ukraine, red Russia, yellow is claimed Russian control, and then in the rest. All right. Let's continue reading here. So Russian forces focused on maintaining positions to the southeast of Izium and west of Lyman, but did not make any confirmed advances towards Sloviansk on June 20th. Russian forces reportedly conducted an unsuccessful assault on Borodarichny, about 20 kilometers northwest of Sloviansk. Russian telegram channel Military Chronicle notably claimed that Ukrainian positions around Sloviansk are highly fortified and are on, quote, dominant heights, which is likely an attempt to set information conditions to justify slow, grinding, and largely unsuccessful Russian advances towards Sloviansk. Let's do, because it's Russian advances, we'll do those in yellow. Do cope yellow for Russian advances. How about that? Cope yellow on here. So here's where the Russians are going. Oh, that's disgusting. That's not even right. I need this yellow then. There we go. Not as thick either. There we go. Russians are trying to move along the E40 highway like this towards Sloviansk, largely unsuccessful, and remain unsuccessful. All right, those arrows good. Cope yellow. Hard to see, but maybe I'll improve tomorrow. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russian troops around Lyman are conducting continual airstrikes and are attempting to prevent Ukrainian forces from regrouping in this area. Russian forces remain unlikely to advance on Sloviansk as they concentrate resources on completing the capture of Severodonetsk and the rest of Luhansk Oblast. So again, all their eggs are in that Severodonetsk basket. They're all in the Donbas right now. Even here in the cauldron of the cities and villages that are all around it, they're having issues just completely taking control of them, or completely advancing and moving on some more of the bigger cities in this region, because they put all of their focus on Severodonetsk. Going to be an issue if they break through the Ukrainian line here, though. If they're able to completely cut off this. Here, this is gonna be a temporary marking, all right? If the Russians are able to cut them off here, right? Big red X along the T1302 highway, because this is what they're trying to do. They're fighting along this. Russians are trying to take control of this. This is their ground line of communication from Bakhmut to Lysychansk, and again, which Lysychansk is elevated above Severodonetsk. It's the next city right across the river. So if the Russians cut the supply line off, that's going to be severely detrimental to Ukraine here and in their fight in Severodonetsk. That's been the Russian goal along the T1302 highway. And then the Russians have just failed here. Failed miserably in northwest of Sloviansk. Just to get that color back, because the Ukrainians are just holding them here. Ukrainians are just, nope, you're not coming. That's like a Ukrainian defense line right there. So Russians are trying to advance southeast. Ukrainians are like, nope, holding them off here. Russian forces continued efforts to interdict Ukrainian lines of communication east of Bakhmut along the T1302 Bakhmut-Lysychansk highway, but did not make any confirmed advances on June 20th. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russian sabotage groups near Bakhmut conducted an unsuccessful assault on Mykolivka, which is a settlement directly along the T1302 highway. Mykolivka. I think that's like right. That's like, let me see this. Oh man, I hate doing this. Yeah, there it is. Bang. Okay. Mykolivka is here. Right there. All right. Is that a big enough circle? There's Mykolivka. It's circled in blue because it's still in Ukrainian control. Right. Where Mykolivka is, it's not marked from this distance, but I'll try to circle any of the cities that I see. Chechen troops additionally continued efforts to take control of Zolote to further support efforts to interdict Ukrainian lines of communication along the T1302. Ukrainian officials have stated that the coming week will be decisive for Russian offensive on Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, and Russian troops will likely further intensify artillery attacks east of Bakhmut along the T1302 in order to set conditions for an offensive northward to support the encirclement of troops in Severodonetsk and Lysychansk from the south. So the Russians want to do this, basically. They got to cut that ground. They got to cut this communication line off. So this isn't happening. This is what they want to do. Okay, this is what they want to do. Cut them off. Okay, cut this off. Cut them off here, and then move. Oh, it's okay. That's okay. I'm done, anyways. I hit the button. Oh, yes, saved, yes. Came in clutch, saved it. I thought I just lost everything. So they want to cut off this ground line of communication, and then they want to advance this way. Onto Lysychansk. That's what they want to do, okay? Not that it's happened. That's their plans. The Ukrainians have that's not happened, so they're holding them off here. They haven't been able to completely cut them off along this highway, but that is the plan. Okay. Thought I lost all of it there. Dang, I'm gonna have to do all of it again. Supporting effort number 1 is Kharkiv City. Now I can close this out. So again, just to recap, the Izium important city, Lyman. This is in the eastern front. Lyman, Severodonetsk is mostly in mostly in Russian control now. Lysychansk is in Ukrainian control. Mykolivka, Ukrainian control. The Russians attempted to, they tried it. They tried it, and the Ukrainians held them off. Here's their defense line. Ukrainians said nah. Defense line there. So Russians tried them. Ukrainians held them off. Okay, you got Bakhmut, which again, T1302 highway goes from Bakhmut to Lysychansk. Important highway here, very important. And then the E40 highway, which the Russians are using to go southeast from Izium to Sloviansk. The Ukrainian had strong defense here and held off any advance and any territorial gains from the Russians. So that is the update in the east. Now we can clear. Now let's go up to Kharkiv City and any changes that have taken place up here. Russian forces north of Kharkiv City continue to focus on preventing further Ukrainian advances towards the international border on June 20th. Deputy Ukrainian Minister Hanna Maliar claimed that Ukrainian troops have nearly reached the Russian border in the Kharkiv Oblast and that Ukrainian forces still have some territory to liberate north of Kharkiv City. While study work cannot independently confirm the positions of Ukrainian troops near the Russian border, Ukrainian counteroffensive operations in this area will likely continue to pressure Russian troops to fight for control of occupied frontiers and intensify artillery attacks against Ukrainian positions around Kharkiv City. Russian forces additionally conducted artillery attacks and unsuccessful reconnaissance in force southeast of Kharkiv City, likely in response to Ukrainian counteroffensive actions southeast of Kharkiv City heading towards the Izium area. So just Russia playing defense on Ukrainian counteroffensives. You can see that you got some reflected counteroffensives taking place in Husinarivka and Spivakivka. Here, they're getting their Ukrainian counteroffensives are getting close to Izium now, because again the Russians have focused all of their eggs in the Severodonetsk basket. They put all their battalion tactical groups, all of their artillery, everything in here, so they can try to take the rest of the Luhansk Oblast. They have till June 26th apparently. Till June 26th. So more of the same here in Kharkiv. Ukrainian successes, really just kind of a stalemate here. It's not like significant counterattacks or counteroffensives have been fruitful for Ukraine. It's not like Russia has taken back any territory here. Just artillery strikes on Kharkiv City from Russia, which have taken place from the beginning of the war. And nothing much has changed up here. Okay, just minor gains from Ukraine's counteroffensives to the northeast. Now we're going to be going into the southern axes, which is Kherson and Zaporizhia. Russian forces focused on defensive operations and fired on Ukrainian positions along the southern axes on June 20th. Russian forces intensified artillery strikes on Mykolaiv-Kherson Oblast border, likely in response to recent Ukrainian counterattacks along the border south of Davdiv Brid and just north of Kherson City. Ukraine's Zaporizhia Oblast Military Administration stated that Russian forces are continuing to move equipment northwards towards Vaslivka district, which is approximately 40 kilometers south of Zaporizhia city, in order to fortify and defend occupied positions in western Zaporizhia Oblast. Commander of the Azov Regiment, Roydin Kudryashov, no, butchered that, notably claimed that Ukrainian forces in Zaporizhia have moved from defensive to offensive positions, which is consistent with reporting that Russian troops are concentrating forces and equipment in Zaporizhia Oblast to prepare for potential Ukrainian counteroffensives. Russian forces are reportedly engaging in continual counter-battery operations along the E105, also known as the M18 highway that runs through Vaslivka, south of Zaporizhia city. The E105 that goes through here. So let's do purple. E105 highway. Some Ukrainian, so focus highway here for Ukraine's counterattacks. There's Vaslivka. And then let's do Ukraine blue, Zaporizhia. That's in Ukrainian control. Vaslivka is not. There we go. Here's where Vaslivka is. All right, and then here's the Ukrainian counterattacks. This way. They're coming. They're using this highway. Let me write on it one more time. The E105, also known as the M108, or excuse me, the M18. Need the purple back. There you go. That's not, whatever. 105. Good enough. E105 highway. Russian forces continued missile and artillery strikes against various areas of Kherson, Zaporizhia, and Dnipropetrovsk, Mykolaiv, and Odessa oblasts. So now we're going to talk about activity in Russian-occupied areas. So that's just the latest in the southern axes. So this is in the Zaporizhia Oblast, and the Ukrainian counterattacks. I suppose we should go over here. Oops. Over here. This is where the Ukrainian advances and counterattacks are taking place in the southern axes. They're moving. Oh, that's not big enough at all. There we go. They're moving this way along the E58 highway. Make that purple. E58. I'll highlight Kherson. There's Kherson. Mykolaiv over here. Blue. And then again the Ukrainian counterattacks all along the Mykolaiv-Kherson border. So the Ukrainians are moving this way. Showing their advance. Arrows are good. Okay. That's where the Ukrainians are coming from Mykolaiv to Kherson. Some happy Ukrainian counteroffensives. Russian authorities continue to struggle with consolidating control of occupied territories in the face of persistent Ukrainian partisan pressure. The Ukrainian Resistance Center reported on June 20th that mass partisan activity in occupied territories is preventing Russian authorities from being able to present public support for the extension of these areas to Russia. The Ukrainian main intelligence directorate similarly claimed that Russian authorities in Berdyansk are faking queues for Russian passports at local administrative centers in order to fabricate a false facade of public desire for Russian citizenship. So they're false flagging. They're pumping out propaganda saying that there's public desire for the citizens in Berdyansk, which I'll show you where that is. So we're good here. This is Kherson, Mykolaiv, and the Ukrainian counter-offensives that have taken place here. Okay, moving on over here now. Oops. Just junk. Just forced. No choice. Here's Berdyansk. Russian control. Let me circle it so you can see it. Berdyansk. The Ukrainian main intelligence directorate similarly claimed that Russian authorities in Berdyansk are faking queues for Russian passports at local administrative centers in order to fabricate a false facade of public desire for Russian citizenship. The GUR additionally reported that Russian occupation authorities in Starobelsk, within the Luhansk Oblast, are coercing people into collective farming schemes and forcing those who work in these schemes into taking Russian citizenship. Ukrainian partisan activity is likely having administrative consequences on Russian efforts to institute Russian citizenship processes en masse with occupied territories. Forced Russification through griminess. Forced Russification through griminess. That's Russia, though. Grimy tactics. All propaganda. But, again, the Ukrainians are 10-15 kilometers outside of Kherson. That would be a huge change in the war if Ukrainians can bolster their counteroffensive here and push into Kherson. They're already having issues in the city from Ukrainian citizens that are fighting back against the occupation, as well as in Melitopol and Mariupol. The Ukrainian citizens aren't just taking it; they're fighting back in there. So, key takeaways before we get into the video clip section of the stream. This has been the map changes and territorial gains and losses. Key takeaways. Ukrainian sources stated that the coming week will be decisive for Russian forces to complete the capture of Severodonetsk, and that Russian forces will focus troops and equipment on the area. Ukrainian sources confirm that Russian forces control all of Severodonetsk with the exception of the Azot industrial zone, where fights are ongoing. Russian sources are likely setting information conditions to justify slow and unsuccessful advances towards Sloviansk from the southeast of Izium and west of Liman. Russian forces are intensifying operations to interdict Ukrainian lines of communication along the T-1302 Bakhmut-Lysychansk highway in order to support escalating operations in Severodonetsk-Lysychansk. Russian forces continue to focus on resisting further Ukrainian advances north of Kharkiv city towards the international border. Russian forces are continuing defensive operations along the southern axes. Ukrainian partisan activity is continuing to complicate efforts by Russian occupation authorities to consolidate control of occupied areas. And that is the latest breakdown in the map for the day. Now we're going to be going into our video clip section. Thank you to everybody that sends videos to our Discord server. So a couple of the videos that were sent today. You're my hero at Ben Stiller, UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador, told Ukraine Zelensky while meeting in Kyiv after visiting other parts of the region in recent days. So you got Ben Stiller meeting the President Zelensky.
Taking the time.
Donde está la biblioteca?
No,
Sorry, I just can't take Ben Stiller.
We know you very well.
I try.
It's a great honor for me, and nice to see you. It's really wonderful. You're my hero. You're amazing. Yes. No. As you quit a great acting career for this.
Not so great as you.
No, but pretty great. But what you've done and the way that you've rallied the country and what for the world, it's really inspiring.
It's not interesting to speak about the war every day, just for audience, for different people. But for us, it's very important.
Yeah.
When people forget to speak about it, the influence and how to push to Russia, it's very difficult.
Well, I feel it's hard to understand what is actually going on here if you haven't been here. We were talking about just the actual impact of coming here, and I just was in Irpin this morning, and
where you?
Irpin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you saw everything.
Mercado. Yeah. I mean, so the level of destruction. I mean, you see it on television. Exactly what you're saying. You see it on TV. You see it on social media, and it's something else to actually see it and feel it, and then to talk to the people. We talked to a bunch of people this morning.
Simple Jack meets President Zelensky. All right, what else we got? Oh, John Sweeney, the GOAT. Orange hats in the chat. If you want to become a member, you get John Sweeney's orange beanie as one of the emojis. Again, he's a BBC journalist, or ex-BBC journalist. He left the BBC and now he's an independent journalist, does his own podcast, Taking on Putin. I'm not like a John Sweeney sponsor or anything. I just reuse his videos, so I try to give back to the people that post these videos because it's not mine. So, John Sweeney, Kyiv Diary, day 116, with a message to China today. Interesting. Let's see what he has to say about China. Oops, that's not loud enough. There we go.
Kyiv Diary Day 116 of Vladimir Putin's war. The postmodern sculpture behind me is actually a sculpture of Taras Shevchenko, which has been concealed in a slightly kind of rather chic way with some sandbags on top by the Ukrainians to protect it from shelling or missiles by the Russian army. It's a small reminder that, as normal as Kyiv seems, there is a war going on and people are dying. The economic war, what's happening is that Russia is now supplying more oil to China than anything else, and so I think it's time that we send a message to the Chinese Communist Party that rules a wonderful and potentially very civilized country with an iron fist that treats the Tibetans and the Uyghurs without pity. What's happening in Tibet and in Xinjiang is a monstrous crime. Added to that, the Chinese government is now funding and fueling Vladimir Putin's brutal war, and we should send a clear message to the Chinese government. We see what you're doing and we don't like it, and if there is an alternative, we will not buy Chinese goods because of what you're doing, because of what you're funding. Now, of course, this stops if China sends a proper message to Vladimir Putin: stop this stupid and brutal war. But unless the Chinese government do that, we should boycott as many Chinese goods as possible. This is incredibly difficult, but down the track, anybody who lives in a democracy has a problem, will have a problem, with these two axes of fascist power. Xi's China, Putin's Russia. It's the same old shit. So, love from Kiev.
All right, John with a stern message towards China. I don't think they're going to listen, but that's John's diary, day 113. What else we got here? We got, in this video, you can see the redeployment of the Ukrainian 2S3 Acadia. Redeployment. The 2S3 howitzer. Howitzer system. Those things can be used as artillery, and they can be used as like a tank in direct fire mode. Here we got here's an update on American weapons deployed against Russia and Ukraine from 13 News Now. So some of the equipment that's been sent to Ukraine from the United States.
ABC News with exclusive access to the American weapons being used by Ukraine in its fight against Russia.
That is the M777 US-made howitzer. It is the long-range piece of artillery which Ukraine says is making so much difference to its war. Once you fire, you've got to move. And the beauty of this particular gun is that it's lighter than anything that the Ukrainians have got, so it can be moved out of position before the Russians reply.
These weapons are the most advanced Ukraine now has in its arsenal. We spoke to an artillery commander who was trained by the United States in Europe to use this type of equipment. He says the howitzers are so lightweight and easy to move that the enemy can't understand how we work so rapidly and open fire from the areas that are not usually suitable for artillery. This comes as 3 American military veterans who volunteered to fight with the Ukrainians have gone missing in the country.
And we got an update too from this as well, straight from Birmingham local news.
He and Andy Huynh have reportedly been captured by Russian forces. These videos were posted by Russian state media. They show the two of them in custody giving pro-Russian statements, presumably coerced to do so. The State Department is looking into their validity.
I saw a video that I, as mom, am positive as my son, but that has not been verified yet.
As the war rages on, civilian targets are being destroyed every day. In Sumy, 10 houses were leveled by Russian shelling. And in the east, Russian missiles struck a fuel depot, sending plumes of black smoke into the air.
With both sides.
So, showing you some of the M777s being used, and then they touched on the American soldiers, but let's do that here quick. This is from a local news report in Birmingham on the Alabama veterans that are missing in Ukraine. So it's a local news report.
Work is currently underway to bring 2 Alabama men home. They were captured in Ukraine after going there to help train the country's army in its fight against Russia. One of them is from Tuscaloosa. Part of the family's comfort rests right at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Coach Nick Saban constantly tells fans to trust the process, so that's exactly what the family is doing, trusting the process that Alex will be brought home safely.
Local news in Alabama they need to reference Nick Saban. Damn, dude, Nick Saban's got that much of a hold over Alabama, dude.
The help of the state's congressional leaders. 2 months after the war in Ukraine started.
What would Nick Saban do for the residents in Alabama? That's what their news tells them. My God, dude.
2 months after the war in Ukraine started, Army veteran Alex Druki decided that he needed to go there. He saw reports of how the Ukraine army was not adequately trained, so he traveled there to lend his expertise in how to use weapons shipped from all over the country and offered training in how to use drones. So his family was in touch with him up until last week when his unit was hit with heavy fire. At this point, it's unclear who has captured Alex and another Alabamian, Andy Wynn, and how they're being treated. Thursday, Alex's family saw videos of the men circulating on Russian social media. The State Department hasn't authenticated these videos yet, but Alex's aunt Diana Shaw is positive it's him.
Just the way his posture was, just the sound of his voice. He has a unique, very rich voice. And just hearing his voice, we were able to tell the State Department with confidence that, yes, that's Alex. And that there was great rejoicing.
Coming up at 6 o'clock, hear what Alex's last conversation was like with his mother before the communication stopped. NBC News spoke with a senior legal advisor with the Human Rights Watch about the missing Alabama men, and she says a big key is what happened when the veterans were taken, specifically if they were in uniform or carrying weapons. If so, according to the expert, they should be considered prisoners of war. However, the expert did say the big fear right now is the men are put through a kangaroo court and given a harsh sentence as a negotiating tactic. Of course, we're going to continue to follow this story.
They're going to be used as a tool for Russia now. A bargaining chip, but they're going to be on trial for as war criminals. Russia's already been put that out. Anybody that's fighting for Ukraine, even Ukraine's own military, they're trying them as war criminals as part of their kangaroo courts that they have going on. That's Russia and Ukraine. So now let's go to Ukraine war. Hidden tanks from the front line. This is from Sky News and their report from today. Sent to our Discord server. Thank you, everybody. So credit to Sky News for this.
There is a military unit in the woods, equipped with machines that weigh 46 tons. But they are very difficult to find. Hidden in the forest, not far from the front line, a tank crew work on a T-84. It's a precious piece of kit. The Ukrainian military's only got 6 of them, although it can be difficult to start.
Да, нюанси різні є, тому що польова експлуатація, однак машина доволі себе хорошо зарекомендувала. І влучно стріляє на відстані 3-4 кілометри і швидко їде.
Vadim and Andre are on their 3rd tank now. They lost the first 2 under heavy fire. The Russians have more vehicles and artillery at the front. Here's what happened the first time.
Пряме влучання в нашу машинку. Екіпаж евакуйований. Навідник. Мехвод.
It's become a feature of this war, the crew documenting the scene from the battlefield. And they seem to realize they've had a lucky escape. One says he's tired.
Ні, Андрюш, пішли скотимося трошки нижче, щоб вони нас не прострілювали.
They're like in the open.
The head of this secret tank base is a youthful 21 years old and officially graduated from the military academy on the day of our visit. But Lieutenant Timoshuk says he believes in his men and the prospect of victory.
У нас люди в першу чергу це досвідчені, знають навіщо вони в першу чергу сюди прийшли через своїх сімей і через нашу батьківщину. І через це ми переможемо.
You're not that experienced. You're 21 years old and you're leading the unit.
Я їм довгий час не казав, що мені 21. Бо мені, по вигляду не скажеш, що мені 21.
I was 21 for a long time.
Ще що сказати.
Lieutenant Timoshuk has already distinguished himself, say his men, repelling a Russian advance last week. Once again, the action was caught on a smartphone. And they've captured 5 Russian vehicles, including 2 tanks, stolen under the noses of their enemy, they say.
Wow.
A crew member called Roman went to get them.
That video was from early in the war. There's no leaves on the trees, so this happened in like March. Had to have been. March.
Roman went to get them.
Нам розвідка сказала, що є танки. 2, один підбитий на міні був, другий був заведений, стояв. І ми поїхали туди.
What did it feel like as you jumped into the Russian tank?
Радість була, що ми ще поновили свій автопарк танків. Страх прийшов аж вдома, коли нам сказали, що там через кілометр 200 танків русських стояли. Но вони цього не очікували, що ми такі наглі підемо і вкрадемо в них танк.
They just stole them right under their noses.
Is formidable, far better equipped. But there is plenty of spirit in the woods. The Russians can be defeated, says the unit's commander, but they'll have to be smart to survive.
21-year-old tank crew leader from Sky News. Thank you for sending that to our Discord server. Now let's get into all the latest clips of the day. So from 18 hours ago, you got a video of a Ukrainian Javelin ATGM strike on a Russian BMP-3 anti-tank guided missile. On a Russian BMP. So that got blown up in the video. Hey, if you're a veteran of the armed forces, we have an amazing veteran community that tunes in here on Mercado Media. Shout out your branch and your years of service and your MOS in the chat if you haven't, or if you could. And if you served outside the U.S. Armed Forces, that's okay too. Comment your branch or wherever you served. Thank you for everybody that served in our amazing Mercado Media community. Photos of dummy sub-munitions used by the Iskander M and 9 M723 quasi-ballistic missiles after a strike in Kharkiv. Alright. Sub-munitions used by the Iskander M in Kharkiv. Photos of 2 Russian Project 22-160 patrol ships south of Snake Island. One has a Tor M2KM air defense system and the other has a KA-29 helicopter. Oh, we got a 95 Bravo in the chat. We had friends that served as an Army Ranger. We got an AFP 2926. David's Fish Tanks with a happy birthday in the chat. Thanks, David's Fish Tanks. Texas Army 8 years. We got the Kentucky Army National Guard. O2E 11 Charlie. 13 years is a 63 Bravo. We got a big 63 Bravo in the chat. 2 63 Bravos. 13 Bravo. 6174. I'm not sure what that code is. E7 retired United States Air Force Cold War planning F-16 avionics. That sounds badass. 11 Bravo. Forced Recon 1st Division 6869. Thank you guys for all of your service. I was a 88 Mike. I got out as an E5 sergeant. Served 1 tour to the Middle East in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. And then I was stationed in Alaska for 4 years in Fairbanks. So that was a great experience. Video of Russian artillery strike on a Ukrainian truck in the Mykolaiv Oblast. And then I took $10,000 lump sum to join the reserves and then hated it. So Russian artillery strike on a Ukrainian truck. Should have just got out outright. That 10,000 came and went. That 10,000 hit my bank account and left just as fast as I got into it. was more like $7,300. You don't get the full. They take your bonus too. Uncle Sam taxes your bonus even for your service. America. So, artillery strike on a Ukrainian truck. Photo reportedly of an Iskander M launched from Belgorod towards Kharkiv. Belgorod city in Russia, right on the other side of the border. Let me pull that up. Show you where Belgorod is. Right here. So here's Belgorod. So you get an idea. Whenever you hear Belgorod, it sounds like Belarus, but it's not. That's not where I want my circle to be. Belgorod, Russian city. Okay. They're launching cruise missiles from Russia into Kharkiv, which here is in Ukrainian control. I need a darker blue, but I want it to match too. So Russia's sending strikes. I'll use this one for strikes. Here. From this way. Okay. These ones don't have an arrow. I like the arrows better. There we go. Here's where they're launching their artillery from. Belgorod into Kharkiv. This is Russia. This is Ukraine. This is the border. Let me highlight the border a little bit. Make the border like dark. There. That's not gonna... What color is that? There we go. Let me fix this. Here's the border in dark blue. So you can see exactly where it splits there. The blue splits, the blue is the border. You got Russia, Ukraine, Belgorod, Kharkiv, and where the cruise missiles are coming from. All right. There's a picture. Video of Ukrainian unit locating a Russia defensive position and BMP with a UAV before adjusting artillery fire on their position. So Ukrainian unit locates a Russian defensive position with a BMP with a UAV, and then it adjusts fire on their position. Oh shit. Safety meeting, spark one up. Intense music. This is a 420 friendly newscast. 420 friendly newscast. You haven't seen me out there a whole lot, but I'm an independent journalist. I do get myself in the mix of things when I'm able to and cover some current events. That's why I do have a big following. I'm sure maybe you guys are wondering how the hell this dude Mercado has followers. It's because I do go out there and cover frontline journalism, and I'm in the mix. I haven't done it lately, but guarantee you I'll be back out there again, especially when election season comes back. But I have copious amounts of PTSD and other things, so 420 safety meetings really help me continue doing this coverage without losing it completely. So 420 friendly newscast the whole way. All right, let's continue. Comment the strain you're smoking on if that's your thing. If you don't partake, you're fine. I'm happy you're here too. I'm still smoking on Alice in Wonderland. Oh dear. We got apple fritters, Maui wowing. So you're seeing Ukrainian strikes on Russian positions and vehicles in this video.
Стой записать. Меняем квадрик.
Марио, пошел в зал, наблюдайте. Марио, пошел в зал, наблюдайте.
And they adjusted fire. They only missed 2 shots before they adjusted. Dude, look at the forward observers. Look at, they just gotta watch the UAV now.
20 огонь.
I wonder what the training for forward observers in the army is like now. Are they training on drones? Are they using drones now? They tightened it up here though and focused the road. The first 2 shots were way off.
18 огонь.
Alright, let's see that again. They missed the first 2 shots. One more time on this. Meta observers. No, this isn't Kraken. This isn't Kraken unit, no. One more time on this, in case you just started joining us now. So here they're setting it up. What was the UAV system we saw yesterday that's being sent from Virginia? I completely spaced. I'll check the Discord. I think I shared it. That like surveys and maps out the entire landscape as well. You can actually buy them.
Птичка на позиции, ждем огонь.
Марио.
I can see you, Laura.
Градом.
I see you.
Фіксуйте всі координати попадання.
Плюс.
Угу. Так, где она? Все, готово, да?
Огонь.
Look at that. Then they adjust fire. That one missed. That one. Oh, these two are wide. Walk them in.
Бачимо. Оцінюємо як 2 недольоти.
Adjust fire.
Стой записать. Меняем квадрик.
Марио, пошел в зал.
The initial shots are to range in for main battery. Okay, I wasn't artillery in the military. Contrary to belief, they don't teach you, like, there's specialized jobs in the army. So like an 88 mic truck driver, I mean, yeah, we won't get any training on any artillery pieces ever. Maybe we'll transport one. Maybe. If they got an 88 mic attached to a artillery unit, they'd be transporting them, but not operating them or touching them. You don't even get to look at the -10s on those. It's very focused on, except for our wild unit, we were training on all sorts of weapon systems. It's a truck unit. Specialize and stay in your lane. That's why I like the army. You know your lane. Go to the wrong DFAC though. Go to the wrong dining hall. Try that. Walk the targets in, and then it also says they hit a BMP. I'm not seeing the BMP though blow up. Unless maybe it was hit there. But at least in this video, I'm not seeing a BMP getting blown up. Here's confirmed where it's happening. So here is the geo confirmation. Go over to the map and pull that up. See if we can find out where that is. At the coordinates. So that is taking place in Mykolaiv. Between Mykolaiv and Kherson, so some of the Ukrainian counterattacks. Here we go here. Nope. We can satellite view it though. So here, that's the street. There's the crossroads. some of the tree lines that you see in the video. I can't go street view, so we can't get on the ground views of it, but that's just some of the artillery on Russian positions between Mykolaiv and Kherson, reflecting the successes from the Ukrainian military here. Here, oops. Oh, apparently I'm still in draw mode. Here. All that's all in here. Successes of Ukrainian military and their counteroffensives in the south. Which I don't know why they're not being talked about more. But we do mention them here on Mercado Media on a daily basis. And the advancement of the Ukrainian military. And they are just 10 to 15 kilometers outside of the city center in Kherson. Here's the highway. It goes right into Kherson. They're getting there. They're not far at all. That's the road, the main street. Here's downtown Kherson. Here's where the Ukrainians are. Not far at all. Be interesting to see any further gains in their counteroffensives over the next week, as Russia has put a time frame on Severodonetsk, the 26th. Right. Video of DNR artillery strikes on Ukrainian positions in New York in the Donetsk Oblast, filmed by a quadcopter UAV. So you got the DNR separatist artillery strikes on Ukrainian positions. On our poll right now, we're sitting at how much longer do you think this war will last? We got 24% for the end of the year, 35%, which is the majority, are at 1 to 2 years, 17% is 3 to 4 years, and 24% are unsure. So we're near tied for unsure and end of year, but the majority seem to think it's going to be 1 to 2 years. The minority is 3 to 4 years. I voted 3 to 4 years. That's what I put. That village looks absolutely destroyed already. So Ukrainians are holed up there. They're held up in these. Like it looks completely destroyed already. So there's Ukrainians in there, and the Donetsk separatists, which are pro-Russian. That's their artillery strikes on Ukrainian positions. Here's photos reportedly of Wagner private military contractors in Sloviansk. Reportedly in the Sloviansk area. That'd have to be north of Sloviansk, more towards Izium and Liman, because they're definitely not anywhere near the city of Sloviansk. Video from Ukraine's 40th Artillery Brigade showing artillery strikes on Russian positions, including an ammunition warehouse. Hit that like button too if y'all have not done so. Like the video. Make sure you're subscribed to Mercado Media here so you don't miss a stream. I do nightly live streams covering the war in Ukraine. Don't want you guys to miss out. Thank you so much. So, one more time, you got Ukraine's 40th Artillery Brigade showing artillery strikes on Russian positions, including a Russian ammunition depot. It's a little loud. strikes on it. I bet you that's the ammunition warehouse there that just got hit at the end. It was incredible seeing that go across the lake, though. Seeing the shot across the lake. Let's see that one more time. Look at that. Rainbow shot. Ukraine's 40th Artillery Brigade. Video posted yesterday of Russian tank and BMPs advancing in Toshivka. It looks like they came under Ukrainian artillery fire. Is this another convoy getting hit? Another Russian column? Oh, there's a bunch of them. Look at how destroyed the buildings are. Just sad. Everything's destroyed. Oh, you got one right in the middle of the road. Possible ambush? If you see a BMP in the middle of the road like that, probably Ukraine's got an ambush set up. Look at that. They're shooting the top of this building. Russian column advancing. Looks similar to Mariupol, but it's not. Same type of apartments. Soviet era apartments. I don't think it's sauce. There's just a BMP like in the middle of the road. Right around it. Oh, boom. Another shot at the building. So the column shooting at the building. First tank got hit. The second tank veered off. Third tank's coming behind it on the road still. Dang, that was a shot at the building from the tank on the road. Go back to about this point here. So some exchanging of fire from the building. And the column of tanks. So as soon as this first tank gets around this BMP, it definitely gets hit. Not sure if it gets disabled. I'm not seeing that. It definitely gets hit. Boom, lobbed another round at the bottom. That tank kept moving. It took that. And then the rear tank hits the corner of the building. Wow, that's in Toshivka. Let's see where that is. Pull up where that is on our map. Is it? Hold on. It might be geolocated so I can get the exact spot. Oh, there's a second half. Never mind. Let's do the second half of the video first. I didn't know there was two parts. Surprised that building's still standing. That apartment building. They're launching rounds at it. Oh, they missed. Tanks returning fire. The Russians don't use infantry support with their tank columns. They're just out there. They don't have infantry support with their tank columns. They're just getting... Oh, wow. That missed. Still on the main road. No audio in this clip, or these two clips. Yeah, good point. Arrow Balden. Oh damn, another strike at the smuggling. This is where the infantry was. Yeah, the Area 51's hangar's been saying, he's been calling them zombie tanks. They don't have infantry support. They're just out doing their own thing. Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Oh, nope. I want the whole coordinates. Alright, let's pull up where this is at. In Toshivka. Right here. Zoom out a little bit, so it's in the northwestern tip of Toshivka, south of Severodonetsk. Can we go into here? Nope. Satellite. Okay. Oh. So the apartment buildings that we're seeing is these. These are the apartments. That's the road that it's going down. I really wish we could get street view. But no street view here in Toshivka. Nowhere to go. Oh, what's this? Nope. Nope. Alright, let's continue on. That's in Toshivka. There's the tops of the buildings from the video. Some of the scenes where it's at. And I love this geolocation so you can tell if it's a fake video or not location. Nope, back-to-back videos there. Here you got video from Ukraine's 10th Mountain Assault Brigade showing a strike on a Russian tank with an anti-tank weapon. So, Ukraine striking a Russian tank with an anti-tank weapon. Yeah, I can't see anything. Is that it? It looked like we were watching a bowl of soup. That definitely looks like a tank. Yep, there it gets hit. It's the worst video quality ever. A Ukrainian SPG-9 crew 17 hours ago posted. SPG-9.
Ми з України, нахуй. Ух, сука, дура, блядь.
Damn, look how fast his buddy's reloading.
Вітаємо вас, підари. Туда, нахуй.
Смотри дальше.
Ух, сука.
Контролируй на...
Добрий вечір, блядь.
Вау.
Ми з України, нахуй. Ух, сука, дура, блядь.
Making the crewmate there moving quick.
Вітаємо вас, підари.
Damn. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That was the longest one, but it was like 8 seconds before that. 8-second reload before that. Photo of a S300 V Series 9 Alpha 84 tells reportedly in Starbalisk. Reportedly, this is this photo from 1981. That looks like a terrible photo. I don't know if I can tell there or anything. Video of a Buick 9A316 9A38 Tel transloaders reportedly traveling from Novo Spokov towards Starbalisk. So here's a video, I guess, to match the photo. Some of their electronic warfare systems. Okay, well, there's a video of them driving through. Picture and video. Okay. Here you got Ukrainian soldiers arming a UAV with a VOG 17 munition from 17 hours ago. Wow.
No.
They've equipped these things to drop. Wow.
Готов. Давай. Поднимай.
There it goes. Oh, one of them's not working. Oh, that thing looks like it's kind of busted. One of the propellers isn't flying properly. Bye, buddy. The thing looks like it's hurt. Ukrainian soldier firing an AGS-17 grenade launcher in indirect fire mode. Oh, damn. He's just launching them. God, that thing looks terrible. And that thing looks awful to use. Oh, God. Yeah, we have the Mark 9. We have the Mark 19. That looks terrible. He's using an indirect fire mode, so he's using it as like mortar, like a mortars, a mortar system. Video of an Iskander 9M728 cruise missile launch. Video of a cruise missile launch. Location unknown. Here's another video of a Russian airstrike in Ukraine on PlayStation 1 graphics. I don't even know what that is. What is that? Video of Russian Bastion coastal defense complex launching an Onyx missile at Ukraine. An Onyx missile? What the hell is that?
What the fuck is that?
Alright, apparently there's multiple. No. Oh, it's all from the... Oh, okay. So that's... Okay. Is it just the Iskander missile written differently? Onyx missile. Supersonic missile. Oh. Yep. Okay. We have looked at this. That's just what it's called. Okay. Got it. Let's continue. Reportedly footage of rocket fire on Ukrainian positions in the Mykolaiv Oblast by by Russian helicopters. Mykolaiv Oblast, Ukrainian helicopters. Ultrasonic potato. Facts. Yep. Sure looked like some rocket fire, alright. Kind of hard to see where it's coming from. You can see it landing. You can see the... When it lights up, that's where it's getting... Where hits are taking place. Hard to see much anything else, though. Hard to see much of anything else there. Video of a large explosion caused by a Russian strike reportedly on a Ukrainian self-propelled howitzers in the Mykolaiv area. Dang. That was a big explosion. Russian strike on a Ukrainian self-propelled howitzer. Took, damn. Disabled. Disabled there. Here you got Russian T-80 BV tanks arriving in Luhansk. We've been tracking these. They've been on the railhead for the last week on their way to Ukraine. Now they're arriving in Luhansk. Some Russian T-80 tanks. Hit the like button if you guys have not done so on the video. Make sure you're subscribed to Mercado Media. We got Greg Sheely with a subscribe. We got Reed Jr. with a subscribe. Stoneboy Blitz with a big subscribe. Mech15 with a subscribe. PhilosophyShirts.com has subscribed. Thank you so much. Alright, more T-80s arriving. Scouts from the VDV's 76th Air Assault Division, so Russians. Artillery strikes by Ukraine's 36th Naval Infantry Brigade on Russian positions in the Kherson Oblast. So Ukraine, this is part of their counteroffensives between Mykolaiv and Kherson. Sixth Naval Infantry Brigade on Russian positions. Here's Ukraine's 92nd Mechanized Brigade of mortar strikes on Russian SPG-9 positions in Kharkiv. So this is in the northeast. Wow. That was the Ukraine's 92nd Mechanized Brigade. Here you got video from Ukraine's Northern Command reportedly showing a Russian tank exploding. That's a big tank explosion. Ukraine's Northern Command. Here you got video of Ukrainian SSO using a UAV to drop munitions on a Russian BMP-2 and a tank. Oh wow. Black and white. BMP-2 and a tank. Oof. The fact that they can drop mortars off of these drones has been a game changer. Oof. It's been a complete game changer. Here you got a Russian tank running over a mine. I think it's going to come of the T-80s that have just arrived. Alright, so Russian tank running over a mine. Video of Ukrainian artillery strikes on Russian positions, including a damaged Russian T-80 BV tank. Oh wow. There's a top cook-off. Bang! Blow up and then the top blows off. Bang. Incredible UAV footage. Wow. Artillery strike. That's Russian positions and a damaged Russian T-80 BV tank. Video of Russian Su-25 attack aircraft in the Donbas. Shit's on fire. Dang. How do you just like get used to like where you live having just an active war going on every single day? Video of a Russian Su-25 attack aircraft in the Donbas. Just wow. Video of Russian paratroopers at the Antonov airfield. So here's some video that's coming out and this assault on the Hostomel airport. One of the early on successes of the Russian military that, I mean, it didn't help them in the long run because they got pushed out of there. But this is that Antonov airfield in Hostomel and that big air helicopter assault. Their air assault teams in Russia and their assault on it. Again, this video is from 24 February from the day of the invasion. We watched a lot of this. It's getting posted. Some new video. This looks like some. You can see all the helicopters. Look at all the helicopters in the distance. It was a big helicopter, assault. Apologies. Here you got Russian paratroopers dismounting an Mi-8 AMTSH helicopter at the. Okay, so is this going to be a big timeline of it? Yep. So here's they dismounted off of the helicopters. is on the 24th. They purposely blew up that giant Airbus, that Antonov airplane. Look at these idiots. They just like threw their bags out and ran. Wow. Here's more. Don't hear any like return fire. Right, and then they were destroyed by Ukraine. Where's that part? Where's the part where all of these their assaulting elements getting just destroyed? They're not going to release those ones. All right. Here's a video of a Russian Ministry of Defense video from a Western military district, Uragan multiple launch rocket system in Ukraine, firing on targets with the aid of Orlan 10 UAVs. So Russia using the Orlan 10s to assist in their artillery for forward observing. Shout out to everybody that served, if you have. I also hope you guys join us this evening for some gaming. I do have a gaming channel. If you're gonna be up tonight, my war coverage only goes a little over 2 hours. I don't like repeating myself or like going over things I've already gone over, minus the key takeaways, so I don't extend my coverage just to make it so it lasts longer. When we get to the ending of the day video clips and the newest clips of the day, then it's the stream will end. And I'll wrap up, and then we'll be getting ready for some gaming tonight. I'll advertise that more towards the end of the stream. Shout out to our Snack Squad community. We're playing Metal Gear Solid. We'll play the Quarry tomorrow. The Quarry is Tuesdays and Thursdays. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are Metal Gear Solid playthrough. So you got Russian strikes. There's a Russian multiple launch rocket system. Their Uragan truck. You can see the Z on the door. And here's their Orlan 10 potato, taking video of it. But then they use a drone for this, like a higher quality drone. See what I mean? Like they're clearly taking a video with like a DJI drone that Ukraine uses here. Wait, they recorded the video on an Orlan 10? The strikes? I don't know about that. That doesn't sit right with me. Why wouldn't they just use the drone that they have with the truck? Look at that crystal clear video, just crisp drone footage there of the multiple launch rocket system truck. But no, they had to use this Nintendo 64 graphics Orlan 10. That doesn't add up. That doesn't add up to me. It doesn't add up, Russia. A video of a 2S1 God, dude, I struggle with this one. Gvozdka artillery strikes on a Russian BMP and BTR-82 by Ukraine's 56th Motorized Brigade. So 2S1 are the big one that can shoot in direct fire and indirect fire. A Russian BMP and a BTR-82, Ukraine's 56th Motorized. That's the big one. The Russians were using their version of this in Mariupol to strike directly at residential areas. That's like the biggest memory of this piece of equipment that I have. Can be fired in direct and indirect fire mode, so like a artillery, and they can be used as like a tank, if you will. They like making content, just ridiculous. Video of Russian Kornet ATGM near Toshivka. Only been in Toshivka a couple times today. On clips, the Kornet ATGM crew, anti-tank guided missile crew.
Давай, давай, эту коробочку выгоняй. Вторая! Есть! Ебал что-то! Давай, сейчас.
Wow. So that again is a Russian Kornet anti-tank guided missile crew hanging out behind the backblast. Video of a Ukrainian Su-27 fighter over Odessa. This is in the southern axis in the southwestern region of Ukraine. Some Ukrainian jets over Odessa. Report from the BBC on Russian volunteers in Ukraine. They say volunteers can either sign a contract with the Russian military, with Rosgavirda in Chechnya, with the LNR, DNR forces, less common because the pay is worse, or join the Wagner group. As your choices. The BBC says that volunteer units are taking part in fighting in some of the most kinetic areas in Ukraine, and volunteers generally receive 3 to 7 days of training. That's it. One of the volunteers interviewed said there was no training in tactics and that many volunteers are over. Listen, hey, in the U.S. Army, 3 to 7 days are spent teaching you how to, like, shower properly. Like, they really, in the U.S. Army, you have to learn how to, like, eat and shit and sleep how the Army wants you to. Like, they start you at that. Like, you are a newborn infant. You are not an adult when you join the U.S. Army. It doesn't matter how old you are. You are broken down to the smallest level, and then they build you back up. But I mean, that's up to you too in the U.S. Army. But they're only receiving 3 to 7 days of training. One of the many volunteers interviewed said there was no training in tactics and that many volunteers are over 45. They're over 45 years old. Wow. That's where their propaganda is getting pandered to. The older generation. Volunteers who joined Rozhkovyrda in Chechnya were provided better training at the Spetsnaz University in Gurdamez and signed 3-month contracts. The Rozhkovyrda volunteer fought in Rubenzine and around Severodonetsk and said Ukrainian mortar and multiple launch rocket system fire was effective. According to the BBC sources, Wagner, as well as Volunteer Ministry of Defense and Rozhkovyrda units, are now Russia's primary assault forces in Ukraine. Wow. Wow. So the irony of Russia taking in the Foreign Legion fighters that Ukraine called out to for help in defense of their country. And then just in general, if you just fighting for Ukraine, even if you're Ukrainian, their own military is getting tried as war criminals in Russia's kangaroo courts that they're going to be establishing in Russian-controlled cities within Ukraine. Probably going to be focused more so in the east where their propaganda has been flowing. The Ukrainians are on their heels in Kherson and Kharkiv, so I don't know if Russia might give up on those two cities. We'll see. They're putting all their eggs in Severodonetsk in the east because that's where their propaganda is embedded. They've been propagandizing that region for years now, well over a decade now. And the irony of the trials taking place for the Foreign Legion when you have the private military contractors, which are literally mercenaries, are the primary assault forces for Russia. They're not even the Russian military. Garbage. Most of their volunteers are over 45. Listen, the United States Army, you got to be 35. If you're older than 35, they might have a waiver. I don't know. I'm not a recruiter. Then maybe we'll give a waiver if you're like physically fit, but 35 is the cap. That's the limit in the U.S. Army. If you're older than 35, I don't know. I think if you have prior service, there's a road for you there through waivers, but just joining initially, I don't know. I don't know if you'd get accepted or not. So the Wagner private military company is leading the assaults for Russia, the assaulting force. The irony. So now let's go over to the Ukraine War Video Report on Reddit to end out the stream. Here the Wolf comes to meet the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces. Who's Wolf? I guess we gotta find out.
Да.
Oh, like an actual wolf. Oh, okay. I thought it was a code name. It's a diamond dog. Dee. That's Dee out on mission right now. Big boss just let it go. Oh. That wolf probably has so much PTSD from the artillery shellings. I realize the wildlife there, that wolf looks scared. The soldiers of the Azov Dnipro showed their self-made laser. It is programmed with a high power that helps to burn all electronics in UAVs. Oh god. I don't know, I think YouTube would take that video. Disney owns Star Wars now, so. Okay. So they have a laser weapon that can take down UAVs. Probably just a... Wow. We're in the future. Zelensky. Now the deputies of the Vernikova Rada have already left and I am here. especially to express gratitude to them. We often criticize them, but today they did a very good job. All right, so here is President Zelensky's update from June 20th. Oops. From the president.
Крок за кроком. Йдемо над важливим тижнем і щоденно робимо все, щоб ні у кого не було сумнівів, що Україна заслуговує на кандидатство. Щоденно доводимо, що ми вже є частиною об'єднаного європейського ціннісного, я б навіть сказав, простору. Зараз депутати наші Верховної Ради вже розійшлись, а я тут. І знаєте, я хотів їм сьогодні подякувати. Ми часто їх критикуємо, але сьогодні вони зробили дуже гарну роботу. Я вдячний усім нашим народним депутатам, які підтримали нашу євроінтеграцію. Хочу відзначити голосування за Конвенцію Ради Європи про запобігання насильству стосовно жінок і домашньому насильству. Цю конвенцію частіше називають Стамбульською за місцем підписання. Її в Україні довго, як то кажуть, збивали десятки років, але головний її зміст простий. Це зобов'язання захищати від насильства і різних форм дискримінації. Хочу також подякувати депутатам, які підтримали закон про управління відходами. Важливий екологічний документ. Ми боролися за нього 3 роки. Закон декілька разів зривався через олігархічні впливи і ось тепер проголосований. Нарешті. Дякую. Ухвалена антикорупційна стратегія сьогодні. Це також дуже важливо. Сподіваюся, що Рада і надалі буде працювати з таким вагомим результатом. Сьогодні зробив 4 звернення. Перше до учасників саміту Тримор'я. Це потужне регіональне об'єднання в Європі, 12 держав між Балтикою, Адріаткою і Чорним морем. Перед зверненням говорили з президентом Дудою, скоординували з Анджеєм наші позиції. На саміті вирішено, що Україна набуває такого статусу, який дозволить стати повноправним учасником Тримор'я. Для нас це значні економічні можливості, модернізація транспорту, зв'язку, мереж. Це ще одна лінія тісної співпраці між Україною і державами ЄС. До речі, маємо і гарну новину з нашого кордону з Польщею. В рамках проєкту «Відкритий кордон» на 50% збільшено пропускну спроможність пункту Краківець-Корчова. Дозволить значно наростити експортно-імпортний потік через кордон. Модернізація очікує інші пункти на кордонах з країнами Євросоюзу. І це відчутно.
That's the other thing too that's coming up this week. Decision. So when's the 26th? Oh, that's Sunday. So the Russians gave themselves till Sunday to get Severodonetsk. And then also this week is going to be a decision for Ukraine's entry into the European Union. So that's going on today. So just an update from the president, more on just what we talked about earlier in the map changes. Here's a video of a Ukrainian kid takes down a Russian flag in temporarily occupied Ukraine.
Увидели вот это хуйню, вот такую, именно тряпку положила у нас в городе. И решили, нахуй она нам тут нужна. Сняли по-мужски, насали на нее. Ну, в принципе, она только для этого и годная. И куда-то вон туда ее надо выбросить. Потому что нахуй она нам здесь нужна. Такая гончирка. Полетела. Вот так это делается. Оккуповані території – це Україна. Не забувайте это.
Through that shit. Eat. Here you got good morning from the Frontline. A taste of the fantastic Ukrainian summer. Oops. Why is it? My buddy's in a foxhole. Here is the new Azov SSO video. Like a new commercial for the Azov regiment.
Починається робота. Ти скидуєш вог на піхоту противника. Після цього хата і тяжелий пулемет. Ви уничтожаєте нахуй все, що було, вижигаєте. Там одного ставити на хвост.
Я выдвигаюсь разом с хатой через 5 минут и занимаю позицию на окопах, правильно?
Плюс.
Принял. Мы на углу продвигаемся.
Is that an MG42?
Позицию свободы.
Плюс.
Ми 5 днів займалися, у нас був налагоджений навчально-тренувальний процес для наших піхотинців. Вони працювали, тренували роботу малих груп, тренували стрілецьку підготовку, робили вправи, займалися медициною тактичною, навчались надавати першу домедичну допомогу, евакуювати, вчились інженерно-саперній справі, вчились будувати укріплення. Зараз у нас був залік.
So clearly a training promo video.
Новий день. Тобто ми цей весь комплекс навчань, які проходили тут бійці, об'єднали в таку умовну операцію.
Парні, прикриваємо гриба!
Отримали завдання.
Yeah, it's a training promo video.
Підготували наявні сили та засоби, спланували його і зараз виконували.
Okay.
В принципі, все. Значить, Николай Дмитриевич Баздырев, Вячеслав Васильевич Заседатель.
Стой. На, вычеркивай крестиком. Кто ликвидирован?
Василий Леонтьевич Волгин. Так, значит.
А двое де ділись?
Съебались, дядя.
На вертольоті вивезли.
Alright. Next, so that is the Azov regiment in there. That's a promo video, training video. Ben Stiller's in Kyiv to give hand for humanitarian causes. Ben Stiller in Kyiv. A video of him doing a video. Alright. Here's a Britain FV-103 Spartan at use. Oh. Britain, that went potato quality. FV-103 Spartan. What the hell is that? I need to look that up quick. Britain FV-103 Spartan. Donde está la biblioteca? Yeah, that boy Ben Stiller was in Kyiv. This is what they're in. Damn. Fast as fuck, boy. Fast as fuck, boy. That thing shreds. That thing rips. Oh my goodness. I think it moves quick. So obviously this isn't in Ukraine, just showing a video of what that dude's riding in. How much do those cost? I want to ride around in one of those. I want to drive that. Dude, look at how fast that thing goes. Fast as fuck, boy. Oh, reverse. Oh, what? They get to drive that too? What is this? This looks like something I would go to and watch. Clearly not in the United States. Got a safari ride going along next to it too. Alright. So that is the FV-103 Spartan. So that's what he's riding in this video. Alright. Quick video, I just wanted to know what the hell he's riding in. Never seen it. A Stugna P doing headshot. P's in the chat. P's in the chat. Got the top. The top blew off. Here you got good times, good vibes, chilling with the boy. Oh, that's the video. We've seen that one. Occupied Mariupol, exhumation of bodies of victims of Russian shelling against the background of garbage. There's a trash pile and then exhumation of bodies. Victims of Russian shelling. Ukrainian soldier digging trenches and finding artifacts of World War II.
2022 год. Пастор в окопах. И что мы делаем? Мы зарываемся, укрепляемся. И что мы находим? Мы на берегу одной из рек Донбасса. Мы находим патроны, которыми отстреливались люди украинского происхождения, скорее всего, потому что это была украинская земля. И они оберегали свою землю.
They're finding casings in the soil.
В то время. А в данное время мы делаем
Casings in the soil.
Только теперь мы защищаемся. Только теперь мы защищаемся от русских фашистов.
Wow. I've seen that. Here's Ukrainian soldiers eating sushi. That looks so good right now. Who's a sushi fan in the chat? You a sushi fan? Anybody not like sushi? We saw that video 18 hours ago. Stugna P video. Ukrainian paratroopers Stugna P. Comment if you like sushi or you don't like sushi.
Yes! Yes! Сука, yes! Командир красава!
Yeah, they get so hype. They get so hype.
Yes! Сука, yes! Командир красава!
Successful Stugna P strike. That's the cheering afterwards. Oh. We saw that yesterday. The Australians bring in the M113 carriers. It might be it. Let's go to the newest. See if there's anything new. No. There's Ben Stiller visiting President Zelensky. I can't take it. I can't. If then, what is this? Opinions. Nothing. No information. All right. I think that's all of the latest. That is all the latest clips of the day. I hope you guys join us after this stream, though. I'm going to take like a short break, going to go outside, have a safety meeting, and then we're continuing our playthrough on Snack Squad TV of Metal Gear Solid 5. The Phantom Pain. We're on part 12. This is wrong. I need to fix this thumbnail. But we're actually on part 12 now of Metal Gear Solid 5, playing a full playthrough. There's already a bunch of people over there. Mark's already over there. I see Michael over there already. But that will start in about 10-15 minutes after this stream ends. And we'll just play until I can't play no more. Alright? Snack Squad TV. Join us. Join us afterwards. Let me actually share the link to this. If you hang out in the YouTube chat, it'll send you right into this live stream. So just hang out in the chat here on Mercado Media and you'll be beamed right into it. Gaming stream. Here comes the link. Thank you guys so much for supporting Mercado Media and tuning in every night. Nightly streams at 8 p.m. Central Time, except for Mondays and Fridays. The stream will be at either 9 o'clock or it'll be at 11. So if I do have to go with a late stream for coverage of the war, I probably won't stream video games afterwards. I'll probably just do the war coverage and then go to bed. But Monday nights, 9 p.m. at the earliest. But if I have late softball games, it'll be at 11. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, those are at 8 p.m. Central Time. So just set your notifications on the channel. Make sure you hit that like button, like the video, subscribe, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for everybody that supports Mercado Media. Thank you for everybody that sent super chats and super stickers. And thank you to everybody that is a member of the channel. Join us on Snack Squad TV. Shout out to the Snack Squad for all of the support and our amazing community that sticks together and tunes into all the content. You guys are amazing. January 6th hearings coming up tomorrow. So if you're interested and you want to tune into the hearings related to January 6th, make sure you have your notifications on for the page as well, and then subscribe, because I have been covering those. There's only 3 left. There's 2 this week and then 1 final one next week, and that'll be tomorrow. So hit the bell. Make sure you're going to be tuned in. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Let me check. What time is it tomorrow? Before we go, I gotta double check. What time is the hearings tomorrow? There's been so many different times. Oh, now I lost it. Oh dear. Let me give you guys the hearing time. I know we had it in my chat. Oh dear. Let me get this for y'all really quick before we go. And then I hope you guys join us for gaming tonight. It's looking at noon tomorrow. We're looking at noon tomorrow here. All right. So I'm going to be live at noon, and then again tomorrow at 8 p.m. So noon stream, 8 p.m. stream for Mercado Media right here for January 6th coverage. And then after the noon stream, I do a deep dive and we go into all the latest video, or excuse me, all available video clips from that day directly from the protesters and people that were there that day on the ground. Not a mainstream news reconstruction of the events, directly from the protesters, rioters, and whatever. Anybody that was out there on January 6th, there's video posted to social media, and that's what we're going to be going through in a geolocated timeline. From we're picking up at, I think, 3:15 in the afternoon tomorrow. Okay, so noon Central Time and then 8 p.m. Central Time tomorrow for coverage. See you guys then. If not, I hope to see you guys on Snack Squad TV YouTube channel. Subscribe. Have a wonderful night, guys. Take care.